Hello everyone, welcome to a new episode. Today we're going to be working on Unit 1, Lessons 3 and 4. Our topic is still my family and me. Let's get started with our objectives. We're going to form and use the simple verb tense, which is the present simple. We're going to ensure the subject, verb, and pronoun antecedent agreement is on. And we're going to learn vocabulary words France, Morocco, Oman, and South Africa. We're going to use the present simple, all its forms, and we're going to listen to a conversation about families that aren't always together, and we will be discussing empathy, resilience, and self-management throughout the whole unit, along with awareness of rights and duties, loyalty and belonging, and national unity, also throughout the unit. Now let's look at exercise 1. Think of different hobbies, then ask and answer. Let's look at the speech bubbles on the right-hand side. Do you listen to music? Yes, I do. Do you play chess? No, I don't. So you can use the pictures here to help you ask questions. You can look at the sticks and maybe ask, do you play the drums? And somebody might say, yes, I do. Or you can say, do you like watching TV? And somebody might say, yes, I do. Or no, I don't. So please practice with a partner at home on asking questions. Now we will move on to the language section. Let's look at the table. Are sentences 1 and 2 true or false? So let's look at the present simple box first. We have a statement, and then we're going to turn it into a negative, and then we're going to turn it into a question. I play football. The negative is I don't play football. And if I ask it as a question, I will say, do you play football? We can always switch up with I, and we can use other subject pronouns such as you, we, or they in both statements and negatives along with questions. So we might say he or she plays football, or he or she doesn't play football, or doesn't he or she play football? So now in number 1, we add s or es to a verb with we or they. What do you guys think? Is this true or false? Of course, it is false. We only add s or es to the verb only with he or she or it, not with we and they. As for number 2, we can start a question with do or does. Is this true or false? It's true. We can say, do you play soccer, or does he like football? Let's move on to the next exercise. Exercise 3, correct the underlined words. So we're going to read those verbs and check if they are correct or not. I plays the drums. I want you to think about the subject-verb agreement. Does I agree with plays, or do we need to rewrite it? You can take a second and then write your answers down and we'll check together. So number 1 should be play, not plays. As for number 2, I doesn't listen to music. Of course, we need to make sure that the subject agrees with the verb, and therefore it is don't. I don't listen to music. As for number 3, do he play football on Mondays? Of course, if we're going to ask a question about someone, we will say, does he play football on Mondays? As for number 4, she don't go swimming. Of course, we need to correct this, and it will be, she doesn't go swimming. As for number 5, does you play chess? Of course, this is incorrect, and it should be, do you play chess? Now, let's move on to the listening section. We're going to listen to Sami and Aya, and then we're going to answer the question, which 3 countries do you hear in the conversation?
My family lives in Cairo, but my dad works in Paris, France. He goes to the airport on Sundays and he catches a plane to Paris. It takes 5 hours to fly there. And then he catches a plane home to Egypt on Thursday evening. He works very hard. On Saturdays, we both play football in the park and we play chess. I love my dad and I'm happy when he's at home. My grandmother and grandfather live in South Africa. They live next to the beach in Cape Town. They have a beautiful house. We go and visit them, but it's a long way. It takes 12 hours to fly there. I talk to them on the phone, but they don't have a computer, so we can't make a video call. I would like to see them every day, but I can't.
Now, let's answer the question. Which three countries do you hear in the conversation? In the two conversations? And the answer is France, Egypt, and South Africa. Good job, guys. Let's move on. Exercise 5. You may listen again if you need to and answer the questions. Please rewind if needed. Number 1. Where does Sami's dad work? He works in Paris, France. As for number 2, when does Sami play with his dad? Sami plays with his dad on Saturdays. Number 3, where do Aya's grandmother and grandfather live? They live next to the beach in Cape Town in South Africa. As for number 4, how long does it take to fly there? It takes 12 hours. Good job, guys. Let's move on to values. Okay. I need you to think about the ethics and the norms that you have at home and the way you were raised, and think about what really matters to your family. Is it honesty? Is it helping? Is it being kind? Is it cooperating? What values does your family or your parents instill in you? Or what values do they try to teach you? How do they want you to be as a person in society? Let's start reading the questions and let's have our discussion. How does Sami feel when his dad is at home? What do you guys think? How does Sami feel when his dad is at home? Do you think he feels happy and comfortable, or he feels unhappy? Write your answers down. Number 2, do you think Aya is sad that she doesn't see her grandparents every day? If you think it's yes, you need to give a reason and write your answers down. As for number 3, if you don't see your grandparents every day, how else can you communicate? For number 3, we are in the 21st century, and of course, if we can't see our family members due to many different reasons, even due to COVID, maybe there are other ways we can communicate. I want you to write down the ways you communicate with your family and friends if you can't see them face to face. Let's go to the next question. Do you think the internet can help you communicate with your family? If yes, write yes and explain how this is happening. Thank you, guys. Now we're going to jump to lesson 4. We're going to read a simple short story and express a basic opinion about characters or the plot. We're going to categorize vocabulary for things in a city and in the mountains. And our vocabulary words here are adventures, attic, city, goat, and orphan. As for language, we're going to be working on the present simple tense. And of course, we're still discussing resilience and self-management. Okay, so do you guys know the story of Heidi? Where does she live? If you know where she lives, write it down, please. Now we're going to read the story and put these pictures in the correct order. Heidi by Joanna Spyri. Heidi is the story of an orphan girl. She goes to live with her grandfather in Switzerland. Her grandfather is an old man. He lives in a small house in the mountains, and he has lots of goats. Heidi sleeps in a bed in the attic of the house. She drinks goat's milk and eats bread and cheese. Every day she walks in the mountains with the goats, her grandfather and her friend Peter. She sees birds and flowers. She is very happy. But one day, Heidi's aunt arrives and takes her to the city. Heidi doesn't like the city and she's very sad to be away from her grandfather, Peter, and the goat. Heidi has lots of adventures in the city. Now I'd like you to put these pictures in the correct order. We have picture A, B, and C. Okay, so the first one is C, and the second one is A, and the third one is B. You can reread the story if you need to, and you can also rewind. Let's move on. Okay, now you're going to read the story again if you need to and find these words in the text. Number 1, animals that are like sheep are goats. A child with no mother or father is, of course, an orphan. Number 3, a room at the top of a house is called the attic. The attic is a room used for storage. So if you don't have space for your things and you have a big house and you have a place at the top of your house, this room is called an attic. Let's move on to number 4. A place with lots of houses or shops is, of course, a city. Now, let's jump to question 4. What do you think Heidi learns when she lives with her grandfather? Of course, she learns about animals and nature. She also learns self-management and to be resilient. If you have to be placed in a certain situation and this situation is hard for you and you keep fighting or you keep trying to adapt and be okay with this change, this makes you a resilient person. So a resilient person is anyone who struggles to be okay. And this is a very good quality in a person if they try hard to reach a goal, even if it's difficult for them. Are you resilient? What do you think? You can write about this. Write about how resilient you are and why. Let's move on. Number 5, add 2 sentences to end the story and go find the end of the story using the QR code. And then check if your story ending is the same. So I suggest you create your own story ending. What do you think will happen with Heidi? Can you create a new ending? And then check with the QR code. Scan the QR code to check if your story ending is the same. Now we will move on to the writing section. Read the sentences about Heidi, then write sentences about you. Number 1, Heidi lives with her grandfather. What about you? You can complete the sentence. I live with my... You can write down who are the members of your family that you live with. Number 2, Heidi lives in Switzerland. You can say, I live in, and choose the city and the country that you live in. Number 3, she drinks milk. Complete the sentence. What do you like to drink? Number 4, her friend is called Peter. My friend is called, and write your friend's name. She likes the mountains. I like, you can choose what places, natural places you like to go to. And number 6, she doesn't like the city. What don't you like? Now, for our exit slip of the day, you're going to write down 3 pieces of information you have learned today. Thank you guys. That's a wrap. This was Ms. Sara Bassioni. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.